and thanks for joining us on Live with Squacky. I'm Val Kelly, owner, president, CEO, and executive producer of Mid-Atlantic Voiceover LLC. And I'm so excited about our special guest tonight. We're interviewing Sunday Muse, who is, well, there's no other way to describe her besides absolutely fabulous. So let me tell you about her. Sunday is an amazing international voice actress. She was nominated for a U.S. Voice Arts Award for Best Voiceover in an Animation Series and is a proud recipient of the Mid-Atlantic Voiceover Award. Her leading voice acting credits include feature film EastEnders, Total Drama Island, Hotel Transylvania, Abby Hatcher, Jimmy Two Shoes, Arthur, Roly Poly Oly, Care Bears, Jane and the Dragon, Time Warp Trio, Peep and the Big Wide World, Caillou and Willow's Wildlife, and many more. As a leading voice actor and teacher at NYU Children's Theater Company and the National Theater School, Sunday Muse is the go-to person in the animation voiceover industry. Her students have gone on to book roles in major cartoons such as Dora, Family Guy, on Fox, Franklin, Arthur, Jim Henson's The Doozers, Paw Patrol, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, Chuck and Friends, Cat in the Hat, and Super Y on PBS. So it's a lot of stuff. We're so excited to have you. And I just want to say that Sunday has been my animation coach on and off for years, and she's so talented, and I couldn't be more honored to have you on the show tonight. So thanks for joining us.
I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody.
So let's see. Okay, can you tell us how you got started in the voiceover industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I started about 25 years ago, and I was doing a lot of theater at the time, and television and film, and I've always been a character actor, and I really always preferred the roles where I got to not look like me on stage. And they seem to be few and far between. And people wanted to cast me for, my face. And I was like, I don't want to play my face. I want to play like somebody else who looks different than me and has different colored hair and is different size body. So I lucked out and I got a really good agent out of theater school, and I put on tape, because that was when they had tapes. And I remember good old like Sony tapes.
Yeah.
And my agent, I put on, he's like, you got to do animation and voiceovers. I was like, oh, okay, sure. I've been told this, but sure. He said, put a whole bunch on the tape, send it to me, and we'll go from there. So I did. And he was like, all right, if I can't get you a job in 6 weeks, fire me. I was like, okay. And I ended up booking Roly Poly Oly. And that was my third audition. And I was nannying at the time to make extra money on the side. I had just come out of theater school, and I was looking after a baby. And what I would do while I was looking after the baby was in his jolly jumper, and I would imitate him back to him, like, so he'd be like, and I'd do it back to the baby. And I learned how to be a baby. And then all of a sudden I got an audition for a baby, and I'm like, oh. So I went in and had the time of my life, and then I got the part, and that was my entry point into animation voiceover.
Wow, that's such a great start. Oh my gosh. I mean, most people don't get to say that they started on like a major show like that, so that's really cool. I mean,
yeah,
it was luck involved, but a lot of talent for sure. So that's
yeah,
awesome.
luck is definitely a part of it. And I will share with y'all that I did get that part, and I thought, oh good, I got my foot in the door, so I'll probably just keep working. And it took 2 years to get, like, I was doing that series the whole time, but it took 2 years to get one other voiceover job. And that was when I started doing a lot of commercials And then the ball started to roll after the 2 years. Like it was consistent, but
Yeah.
up until that point, nope. It really takes time.
Yeah, it really does. And I'll just add this in right here. So you do a lot of commercial voiceover. What's the most valuable piece of industry advice you've received since you started acting?
Best piece of advice that I received about the industry was perseverance and and to do other things as well that you enjoy, and to not put all your eggs in one basket and sit and wait by the phone. Like to fully involve yourself in your life in other areas so that it doesn't become an obsession and focal point only. Like, yes, you need to work hard, and but you need to have other things as well, to either to make money or just because you love doing them. I would say that's what's standing out for me in this moment. There are other pieces of advice too that I've been given, but that's the one that's standing out.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people, especially people starting out in the industry, they think like, oh, this is what I really want to do, so this is what I'm going to dedicate my life to, and that's great. But I think that sometimes they put so much pressure on themselves that when they don't book work right away, then they get discouraged, and then it's easier for people to say, oh, maybe I should just give up. You know what I mean? Because it's not like we've heard from everybody. It's not an overnight industry, right? I mean, not for you, not for me, not for whoever. You know what I mean? So I think people have to really take that into account, because if you do your very best, you work really hard, and you do your marketing, and you do all the stuff that you're supposed to be doing, and you're talented, that's one of the most important things, right? And you're doing all of that, eventually you'll start to book work. But it's extremely competitive now. It's so competitive, right? Like, I think even, when I started, it was, you heard like back in the late 90s, even, right before like 1999 was when I started getting my foot sort of kind of in the door. And it was such a different industry at that time than it is today. And so now it's like you've got like a billion people in the voiceover industry instead of just like a handful of people who are booking all the work.
I know.
So yeah.
Yeah, it has, and it has changed, and even more reason to, to really kind of, yes, persevere always, and work hard at that, but also to find out what you are, what your best angle or strength is in the industry, so that you're not spreading yourself thin. I would say that's another thing, that people tend to spread themselves very thin and do too many things, and then wonder, people end up wondering why nothing is happening. And there is a balance between doing too much and doing too little.
Right.
And that's really up to the individual to experience, I suppose, within themselves. But yeah.
Yeah, speaking of balance, everyone is so busy these days. How do you maintain balance in your life?
Hmm. I sing. I love to sing, and it brings me great joy, and it feels very relaxing for me. I I spend time in nature. I it may sound very basic, but I get enough sleep, and I balance. I work on breathing. Like I do a lot of breathing work, either through yoga or just on my own, kind of day to day.
Yeah.
The importance or the attention to being present. So meditation and that kind of self-care is really important for me for balance and not doing too much. Like I, I used to be able to kind of pull off 5 things a day, but I don't know that I would have been doing them well. And so I'm at a point in my life where I don't take on 5 different massive things a day. It's more like 1 or 2 and prioritize around that. So I would say also the kind of discernment of like where you want to put your energy in your day, and the kind of people you want to be around, and the people that make you feel good versus drained, that's huge. And I that just come up in the moment, but I feel like that's really important, like to really understand that for yourself. Like for some reason that person really drains me and I always feel wiped out after. It's not because they're a bad person, but there's something about that. And that kind of energy really takes away from the balance in your life and also your confidence.
Yeah.
It really affects like the confidence. And when your confidence is funky, everything's off. Because then you're seeing, then your work gets affected that way. And I'm not blaming other people, by the way. That's not the point here, is to say somebody else drained you. It's more just knowing the kinds of people in environments where you feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've talked about this so many times before. I mean, to you and to, just in general to other people in the industry. But I think that I feel like you kind of get to a certain point in your life when you realize, maybe when you didn't realize when you were younger, that you can't have toxic people in your life. And I don't know that at a young age I would have realized, oh, these people are toxic. You know what I mean? Then if you have enough stuff happen, then you're like, okay, I can't have these people in my life. Or these people get out of your life for whatever reason because they're not meant to be there. And then you realize, like, oh, this is a good thing they're not in my life anymore because they're toxic. And in an industry like this, with voiceover, generally speaking, people are very good. They're very nice. They are just friendly people willing to help each other. So it's not necessarily in that regard. But I think that who you choose to surround yourself with makes a huge impact on your life overall. And it could be with, if you have another day job besides voice acting, it could be something with that. It could just be, could be your family for all we know. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like it's really something important that you guys listening, if you could be in your 20s, you could be older, and that's a really important lesson that I've learned over the years, is just that you've got to get rid of the toxic people. No matter how hard it might seem at first, it's just so important, because your life will automatically be so much better without them.
It's true. And I would say, to add to that, is toxic food. I gotta say, I think it's one of the hardest things, because like food is so yummy and but food can really affect you. It can affect everything, and how you're feeling and your state of mind, and your mood can be totally different when you're eating too much. For me, it's like the balance with sugar. Like if there's too much sugar, I feel terrible. And I really think not everybody is like me, but we're all kind of kids. We're just adults now, but we're all kind of kids inside. And if there's too much of something in our diets and we don't feel well, that's the first thing to look at. Like, and that creates such an imbalance. I would say that firsthand. I know I have a lot of food sensitivities. So, people, toxicity with people, and also in what you're eating. I'm very much about like the whole body, like being as healthy as I can, because if I'm not healthy, then I don't have much to offer.
Yeah.
And I think that probably goes for everybody, but it is worth paying attention to. To me, I do that as a voice actor, but also as a coach, that's important for my students too, to see the whole picture, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So let's talk about coaching, actually. Your company, Great Big Voices, is a boutique voiceover coaching hub made up of celebrity voice actors. Can you tell us about what your company offers for workshops and training?
Absolutely. So, so we work with kids, teens, and adults at greatbigvoices.com. And we work with all levels of voice actors. And what we're really a lot about is a kind of mentorship and helping people launch a full career. So we don't drop you off at the end of the training and say bye-bye. So there's a real connection to helping you actually get involved in the industry, whether that is by getting an agent, we do referrals, or there are other ways to get a kind of representation. And we offer nowadays, in the last year, we offer ongoing online interactive courses for people across the globe. They are all taught live on Zoom with me. So you see and hear everyone. And I'm saying that because some people don't know that Zoom is set up where it's like a workshop in person, but it's online. So you can see and hear everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so the interactive online courses are pretty big for us at this point, and they're doing very well. And we offer a beginner's boot camp for 6 weeks. We actually have that coming up on October 21st, and we'll have a casting director on board. And we also offer mastering self-tapes, weekend intensive for voice actors who have training or who have some experience with the audition process, but that one is not for beginners.
Yeah.
And then of course we offer like Skype private lessons, and for both animation and commercial voiceover. We do demo production, and that's for across North America. And then we do in-person workshops in Toronto, New York, and LA. And audition coaching. And lastly, mentorship consulting. And what does that mean? It's basically support for getting you started or for challenges along the way that may interfere with your productivity in the business. So aside from being a voice coach, I'm also a qualified and trained life coach and business entrepreneur, and I bring those skills to the table to guide voice actors at any level of their career.
Wow, that's awesome. So much stuff. That's great.
And we also have a book. I forgot to mention that, but it's okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
So your company has a book, or you mean the book that you wrote?
I wrote a book. So it's on the company website, greatbigvoices.com. And yeah, it's called You Can Do Cartoon Voices Too, and it's available on Amazon, and it's a lot of fun.
I have a copy. It's a great book. You guys should buy it, definitely. I'll put the link for it in the bio here.
That would be nice. Thank you.
Great. So I've coached with you firsthand, so I already know how amazing it is to work with you, and it's so important to find a voiceover coach that you can relate to and who understands the style of training you need to be your best self. What are some important qualities you would recommend actors to look for when searching for a new voiceover coach?
Mm-hmm. For sure, a connection to the coach and to feel good, like whether that's a phone call or whether that's you going on their website and watching a video and asking yourself, even if they have amazing credits, I'm sorry, but who cares? If you don't like the vibe of the person, don't work with them, because that's really important. So a video, a phone call, a sense of support, and that this could go somewhere. You know, every coach has something different to offer, I remember once working with a coach who overwhelmed me, completely overwhelmed me. And this was somebody with like wonderful credits.
Yeah.
And but I was completely overwhelmed after every session. I almost couldn't sleep. And so that's not good either.
Right.
And so it's really what's the vibe? It's kind of like looking for a friend, a match that just feels good. Yeah, I can imagine myself. And I'll say this one last thing, a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I feel that a coach should display and have a great sense of humor, and especially when they're talking about the voice. And for me, too much like serious is just it's just like then it gets really serious and kind of serious, and there has to be a kind of light, like a lighter side to it all. So I think a really good sense of humor, that's what I would be going for in any coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys are looking for a coach, like an animation coach or commercial for that matter, I mean, I think Sunday is definitely one of the best coaches I've ever trained with. And I'm not just saying that because because I'm interviewing her. I'm saying it because I genuinely feel that way. So I know that a lot of you are always looking for like, who should I coach with? There's so many choices, and it can be overwhelming, don't you think? Like how many people are out there now? It's like every other person and their brother is a coach now. So
I know. I
it's
agree.
hard through.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like when you meet the right coach, you know that there's a connection there. And exactly what she was saying in that having a sense of humor and having a good vibe. And you know immediately if you have that with someone. It's not like a, a process of figuring it out, because if someone is genuine, you're going to get that vibe right away. And then you just know. And if you do a session with them and it's not the right fit for you, then you just say, okay, this isn't the right fit for me, and you find somebody else, you know?
Yeah, and doing yeah, I was going to say too that just because somebody gets good ratings on Google, it doesn't necessarily mean they're fabulous coaches. And I know that may be straightforward or obvious for some people and not for others. But again, the phone call, or do like call or ask for a free 20-minute consultation. I do offer that. I think it secures people's nervous systems in a way. It's like, who
Yeah,
are you and why am I spending this on, what am I doing? And so yeah, they should have some really good credits to their name for sure. I
yeah,
really, yes, that's important. But if that's all and you don't have a connection with them, forget it. Or whatever it is, I think just trust yourself. And the whole thing, some people charge less than others, some people have been doing it longer, some people put a different energy into their coaching than other people. Some people's coaching is their whole lives and they are doing it morning, noon, and night. You really don't know. And so that's another important thing to factor in. It is an investment. It's an investment, but
yeah,
it's worth it because you'll grow from it no matter what.
yeah. And I would also say, on the flip side of that, or not necessarily the flip side, but another side of it is just be extra cautious who you choose, because there are a lot of people out there now that are like, yeah, I'm a voiceover coach. And you're like, okay, great. Like, if they don't have any credits that you can find anywhere, like if you type in their name and nothing comes up and they don't have a website even, maybe you should err on the side of caution or ask around before you say, yeah, I'm going to choose this person as my coach, because if they don't have any credits for his name, what are they even doing? And if there's a lot of people out there that are just willing to take your money, and we don't want that to happen to you either. So you do have to be really cautious. But like Sunday was saying, somebody could have all the credits in the world, but if they're not a good teacher, then they're not going to be a good coach for you. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to just really try to find a balance between a good personality, a good vibe, and obviously somebody who's really experienced, who has the ability to teach. Because if they can't teach, that's not going to help you at all.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people have like masterful online presence, but but what they're producing demo wise isn't good.
Yeah.
No, it's not quality. Quality is really important. And if you don't know the voiceover industry and you're new, how do you know what quality demos are? You know?
Kind of switching gears a little bit, what have some of your biggest obstacles been in the industry so far? And then after that, your biggest successes?
Some of the biggest obstacles. Competition. You're never guaranteed anything just because you're really good. There's always going to be somebody who's a little bit better. And in fact, that's kind of a good thing because it makes you work harder. And so what I'm going to speak to is how competition, or what competition kind of does, and how I've experienced competition and how that's an obstacle for me. So when I experience, that competitive feel, or somebody else gets the part 2 times in a row, it's down to the last two people, they get the part. It's hard not to lose your confidence and your mojo around persevering. And it's really important to see not just the surface that, oh, well, just get over it. Doesn't really mean anything anyway. You're still great. Because you know what? That, for me, that doesn't really work. Somebody can say, like, don't worry about it. It's like, well, I'm actually worrying about it. So how do I just not worry about it? So acknowledge how you're feeling. And there's something about acknowledging that you feel less than and worthless and hopeless, and truly honor it. And maybe you need to have a good cry over it, and really, just like a kid would when they might come home from school and be like, Mom, and this person, and she's always, and like, hopefully as a parent, you're not going to be like, be quiet. You're going to actually talk to them and comfort them. And as adults, we need the same thing. It's like, it's not personal in this business.
Yeah.
It's never personal that you haven't been chosen because they don't like you. It's always about something else. The voice isn't high enough, or it's not low enough, or it sounds too much like another character, or it's just whatever the story may be. It isn't personal, but you have to honor your feelings. And I think that's been the biggest obstacle for me.
Yeah.
Is self-comparison and competition. So you could
Yeah.
say self-comparison, competition, and you need to meet it. You kind of need to befriend it. Like, it's like, oh, here it is again. Right. Well, that person's going to do their thing and I'm going to do mine. And I have no control over whether I get chosen or not. But I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do my best. And so that would be like I think the biggest one.
Yeah.
And quiet times in your career when you're not booking work and you're really good, that's really tough. It's hard. And you think it's the end of the world and it must mean that you suck, and it doesn't. Everybody goes through it. Everybody goes through periods of drought. And if they don't, they're lying.
Yeah. Seriously.
Like everybody does.
So then, those are your obstacles. What about some of your biggest successes?
So like, you want like listing my biggest successes, or
whatever they are to you, like whether they're being on a specific show as a specific character, or whatever you feel are in your career so far, the biggest successes.
Okay, so I feel one of my biggest successes is singing in cartoons as Ella, who is up on the picture behind me.
So cute.
Yeah, on Total Drama Island. For me, that felt like flying. Like, it felt like I was flying, and I'm actually doing her. I'm actually they're bringing me back. They are doing Total Drama Rama, and Ella is a baby.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
so
cute.
I don't know what that's going to be like, but anyway, I think I'm allowed to say that. Pretty sure I am. And
Hopefully.
yeah, and but that was like my biggest moment, I think, ever, was being a Snow White kind of character and singing, like dancing through the forest. I mean, there's just nothing like that for me, because I grew up doing that kind of voice from the time I was 5 years old, and
Yeah.
then I got to live it out. So there are others, and I other successes. I mean, I love the Care Bears. I loved playing the Care Bears in ensemble with other fabulous 4 other voice actors in the studio. That was like an absolute blast. And
Yeah, my favorite channel right now is Boomerang, and they just keep playing all of those shows, like the Smurfs and like the Care Bears and all the Looney Tunes cartoons, but I mean like the older ones. And then they play like the new ones too, like the Tom and Jerry, the old ones, and then they play the new ones, and they're like remaking everything, you know. But I love Boomerang's my favorite channel. I love watching. Oh, what are you working on now that you're allowed to talk about?
I am working on Hotel Transylvania, and I love it. And I play 2 recurring characters. And I'm also working on Total Drama Island, and that's all I can say.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So let's see. How do you feel about social media? My favorite topic, almost probably. And which sites do you use and why?
I am a slow goer at social media, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm not. I am still, I would say, I'm just getting to a point where I'm more active on social media than I was. And I use Facebook. I don't do Instagram yet. I'm sure I will. I used to use Twitter. I didn't really find it was serving me. It just wasn't really doing anything.
Mhm.
And so I use my Facebook voiceover page
Mhm.
is Great Big Voices voiceover coaching and training. And I'm posting videos about anything voiceover related is posted there.
Cool.
I have a personal page, Sunday Muse, and everybody is friending me, but I don't actually post voiceover related things on that page because I have
Yeah,
a voiceover page. So
right.
I'm kind of trying to move everybody over to Great Big Voices voiceover training and coaching.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm keeping the personal page more like a personal page, like
yeah,
things that are happening in my life. And I think that's better for me right now. But as far as the social media aspect, I my active I'm active as far as videos and um, self-tape secret groups from my online courses, and yeah, and I'm growing and I'm expanding.
So can you talk about the difference between being a voice actor in Toronto versus LA?
Yeah, sure. I so the biggest difference I would say is the number of self-tapes multiplies in Los Angeles compared to Toronto. So the number of in-person auditions, I'm saying the same thing but a different way. You don't meet the casting director as often as you do in Toronto.
Okay.
Even though a lot of self-tapes are done in Toronto as well now, but there are still quite a few in person. And the other difference is the number of people, and the competition is far greater because it's a much bigger city. And I would say as well that Toronto's really heavy with younger, like 8 to 10, 8 to 12 teen cartoons and preschool, and a few adult cartoons. But LA has the big, a lot of adult cartoons as well as others, but they just seem to have a lot more in the comedy adult category, as well as feature films are all done there. The biggest difference, there's one other thing that I've noticed: the sides, the copy tends to be shorter for LA auditions than in Toronto. Toronto seems to be notorious for, sending sometimes up to 8 pages of sides for a lead part.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And not always, but often the case. And where you see every other character's lines and yours, whereas I find often in LA, they're 1-page auditions and it's only your character's lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my experience.
Yeah, definitely. I find that really interesting because a lot of auditions that I get but from LA are like you said, just your character that you're auditioning for. And sometimes it's hard because you have to like interpret what's happening in between. I mean, you have to do that anyway to a certain degree when you're analyzing the script and figuring out what's happening and where you are and who you're talking to and all the stuff. But it makes it a lot harder, I feel like, when it's just, oh, here's your lines, good luck, which is
It is a lot harder.
The whole script, no, you can't. Here's your lines. Okay, great.
No, I do a whole thing on this in my Mastering Self-Tapes course, because a lot of people like, oh, there's nobody else, so I just have to read the emotion. It says sad, and then it says excited, so I'll just follow that. No, yes, and is more the case. That, and where are you located? What's happening? Who are you talking to? What's the volume? Is it loud? Is it quiet? Like, there's so many things you need to look at because you're creating a story. So it's a little bit misleading. People think, oh yeah, it's a short audition. Actually, you have to put a lot of time into it.
Yeah, because you almost have to create the backstory yourself. And it's so, yeah, it can be really challenging. I think that those are the, most of the auditions that I get are like that, where you have, because they're either for me, I'm usually getting stuff from LA or New York. Those are the 2 places that my agents are sending me stuff from, or sometimes from DC, but my DC contact sends me stuff from LA and from New York, because DC really doesn't have a lot of like animation stuff,
Yes.
But
yes.
But video games and things like that, there's a reasonable amount of character work for that kind of thing here.
Sure.
And so, yeah, but it's always the same thing, and it's like, it just like you said, it says like happy, sad, da da da, and you're like, great. And people that don't know, because they're just starting out, are like, okay, here I'm angry. And you can give your best interpretation, but you still have to make a connection between what else is happening in the scene. When you're analyzing the script, you can't just read it.
You can't just wing that.
Yeah, you can't. You got to spend time behind it. It's like if you're going in and you're doing a cold read, which I think it's pretty rare that you are going in and doing a cold read for an audition like that, right? You usually have some time to look over the script and do your preparation. It would be kind of rare for them to be like, you have 5 minutes to.
They used to do that in Toronto. There were some casting directors who wouldn't give you anything until you got to the audition. Because they felt that was how they really saw the brilliance of a voice actor.
Right.
Somebody who could literally lay something down in 20 minutes. And there's an art to that. And there's there's something to that I kind of miss it.
Right.
Because there's a spontaneity and an energy. You don't have 5 days or 10 days to like prep and look everything up online and do all the things. And it's not that that's bad, it's great too, but it's just, there's something about really showing up and being fresh. So the only other way I think that would happen where you get something, it's a cold read, is if you're at doing a recall.
Right.
In Canada, they call it a callback.
Yeah.
And you're in the room with the producers and the voice director or the casting director, and they say, we're interested in hearing you read something else, and they'll give you the copy on the spot, and they'll usually give you 5 or 10 minutes to look it over, and then they want to hear it.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because I'm somebody who does like to just show up and just see what happens. I've always been that way. I just find it thrilling. So,
yeah.
Like, that's so exciting to me. And that's really changed in our industry now.
Yeah. And I think that, one of the most important things that I think I learned in coaching with you is that, even before you're booking real shows or characters or toys or whatever it is that you're booking, it's so important to develop your own characters and to have that in your head, and you've got this list of characters, and you've got the drawings, and you've got a little script for yourself, and you've got your own set of characters to draw from, so that when you are presented with a situation like that where they're like, here you go, show me what you got, and then you're like, for the Rolodex in your head of like, who are my characters? What can I use? How can I combine these two together and make it into the 85-year-old squirrel who's stuck in an elevator with a tennis ball and an orange, right? And then you're like, okay, how am I going to pull off this? And you can, because you've had that training. So yeah, I think
it's true. Yeah, I'm big on that. Having a repertoire of characters, and characters that are strong and that you've worked out. You've got an opportunity to bring them to life fully. I do a tree, like I draw like a stick tree on a piece of paper with 8 branches, and each branch is like, one branch might be teenage girl. Okay, so you have your standard teenage girl, then you do a little branch off that branch, slurpy teenage girl, so she might sound sort of like this. And then you've got bossy kind of bitchy teenage girl, and she's like, you have different variations of the same kind of voice, but with different and that's something that I think is really important. And I spend a lot of time grounding out these repertoire of characters for my students. I think that they're everything. I think that they set up a kind of structure for you moving forward.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, throwing a demo together in one session and, here's 18 characters, go. And it's great. If you have lots of experience as a voice actor, you can probably do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people need to build. So
yeah. I swear I must have for all the time that I've been working on characters, I must have I don't even know. My folder went from being a couple of pages of copy when I was working with you on stuff to it's like I'm gonna bring it to this weekend and show you, because it's insanely fat.
I can't wait.
So yeah. All right, so can we talk about Walla for a minute? Can you explain to our audience what it is and why it's useful to be able to do for cartoons? And what would you say are some good techniques what are some good techniques for improving one's Walla skills?
So Walla is the sound effects that the character expresses that aren't necessarily in words. So the sound effects may be, the description may be, Jack stubs his toe. So you have to give a sound for stubbing his toe. Ow. Jack climbs the ladder. Jack laughs at the joke. So they're the sound effects, and sometimes they are words. Cheering is a really big one. Jack cheers for the squirrels. They won the race. Yeah, woo, yeah, bravo, so good. I can't believe it. Amazing.
Yeah.
So those are they're ad libs. Their walla is improv. It's,
right.
You just throw yourself in, you wing it. Your physical body literally jumps into the scene, and it can be as simple as a sigh, to a climbing, to a punch, to whatever. But that's the life of walla. Yeah. There's a one director who only teaches workshops on walla, because according to her, if you can't do walla, you can't do animation. She's like, this is where you learn how to animate. This is where you learn, because if somebody gives you the direction, you're rolling down the hill.
Yeah.
You, as an actor, voice actor, you can't convey that sound unless you actually really physically go for it. Like, I'm not saying you should roll down on the floor, but you have to physically convey with your body. And that's the whole point of animation, is that you have to physically convey the words, even that you're saying, with your body. So it's not like normal talking. It's more like, I'm rolling down a hill in my chair.
Awesome. That's so cool.
I love walla.
Yeah, I think so many people need
second name.
Yeah, you should.
I actually think maybe that should be my name online. I think I should start a whole new thing. It's called Sunday.
I think you should change it. Yeah, Sunday walla.
Oh my God, it'd be so good. Yeah.
It sounds like something like.
It does. Something maybe weird. As I crack my neck.
It's almost like you could make it into one word, like Sunday walla
or Suwalla.
Yeah.
Or how about swalla? S apostrophe. Swalla. That would be like the most catchy animated name for a
You wouldn't have to have a last name at all. You could just be, I'm Sawala. I used to be Sunday Muse, now I'm Sawala.
Sawala. It's just really big hair.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So improv, branching off of walla, improv is absolutely essential, especially for animation, character, cartoon, voiceover. Do you have any great improv tips you can offer?
Great improv tips to doing auditions?
Yeah.
I could go on about this for a while. So, yeah. So the biggest thing is to get off the page, which is a form of improv. How do you get off the page? What does that mean? Well, getting off the page means making the copy your own. So slightly changing the beginnings of lines. You have to be careful of the genre. You don't want to completely change the words, because if it's preschool or for little kids, the writers don't want to have an actor who's totally changing all the words. If it's adult comedy, they often want all improv. So change it up, make it your own, shake it up a bit. Instead of saying and, you might say and, or and, or and, instead of just going, and then she dip, 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 dip. Right. So that's one way of kind of getting off the page and improvising. Then you can add sound effects if it's appropriate. If it's too thought out in the head, it doesn't work. So there has to be an organic connection to the material and to the copy. And so, as you're moving into a line, you may be like, I don't know, instead of just, I don't know.
Right.
So sound effects, laughter is a way to improvise. Show off the laughter somewhere. If there's no mention of laughter, find a place to laugh. That's what I believe always have. Find a place to laugh. Even if it's the very beginning of the audition, just give them a laugh and then go into your first line without the laugh, right? Like separate it.
Mhm.
And every character has to laugh at something at some point. So it's great to show that range. So those are the sort of basic things that I would say as far as improv, the importance of improv. OMG. You really need to practice in order to get to a place where you can organically improvise. It's not an easy thing to do, but it really takes work. It really, really, it's a muscle, and it takes work trusting yourself. That's what improv is about, is trusting. If you don't trust something, it's not going to come out.
Right. So, do you have any upcoming appearances, workshops, conferences that you're offering or attending that you'd like to tell us about?
Absolutely. I'm going to be at Voiceover North in Toronto, VO North. That's coming up on the weekend of September 21st. And workshops, I am offering, I forgot to mention this, but I think it's important. I'm offering a free 90-minute workshop consultation for anyone who is either starting out or is already in the industry. It's going to be on October 7th on Zoom at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You just have to email me. You can find my contact at greatbigvoices.com. And it's an opportunity for people to bring in questions. It's also an opportunity for parents to come in if they want to ask questions about their child and voice acting. It's free. It's my expression of gratitude to all of my students from the past and the present, to say thank you for everything that they've taught me. And for people who might be struggling a little bit financially, it's an opportunity for them as well. So that's October 7, and that's kind of big.
Yeah.
The other two is there is a kids. So all the parents out there, there are 2 kids workshops, one in New York and one in LA. In New York. So the kids voiceover animation workshop in New York City is Monday, October 21st. And the LA Kids Voiceover Workshop is Sunday, October 13. Again, those can be found on my website at greatbigvoices.com. And is there anything else to mention there? There will be classes in Toronto being offered. The dates are not set, but there will be some in person. So Mastering Self-Tapes is coming up, Beginners Boot Camp, they're all coming up in mid-October.
Cool. That's great.
And please, if you haven't already, to the audience that's watching, Great Big Voices voiceover coaching and training on Facebook, come and join our page, because there'll be videos, and there already are videos, and lots of information about voiceover and demos and everything voiceover.
Yeah, definitely. So, oh my gosh, there's so much more I could ask you, but we're running out of time. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. If you would like to contact Sunday, you can visit her website at greatbigvoices.com, and you can find her on Facebook at, tell us again, the page for your...
Oh yeah, it's Great Big Voices. I just want to make sure that I'm saying Great Big Voices voiceover coaching and training. If you just do Great Big Voices, they'll see it.
Yeah. So just type in Great Big Voices, and her company page will come up. So you can follow her on Facebook, and on Twitter, it's at Sunday Muse, right?
Yep, that's right.
So you should all follow her on Twitter.
So I wanted to say this too, because there are so many voice actors out there now, and so many voice acting coaches and voiceover coaches. You know, follow your sense of like where it feels good. Really, like, because the coaching should feel good. I mean, not that it's not challenging, but it's like you should feel good. It's just like, where do you feel good? You don't want to feel beaten down and terrible. You want to have the reality of the industry, but you want to have somebody you just feel good around, that you really have that, like you almost like you want to have coffee with them. That's really important. there's so much information and people get really inundated with all kinds of stuff. Then they get overwhelmed and then they feel like they should be in 30 things at the same time. Don't do 30 things at the same time. Don't take acting, improv, ballet, tap, jazz, voiceover, animation, video game, and commercial all at the same time. Just don't do it. Trust me. Just don't. Pick two. Like do improv and one kind of voice acting, and pick the one that feels good. If you're a character, do animation. Go for it. You can learn about other voiceover things after. If that's where you feel the love, go into the love.
Definitely. All right, you guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And thank you, Sunday, for all of your time and knowledge and just everything. It's been such an honor to have you on the show. And like I said, guys, I will put the links in the bio below so you can connect with Sunday on her social media and her website. All right. Have a good night, everybody. And
bye.
thanks for tuning in.